everyone, welcome to another technique video. We're going to work on our forward slants and our reverse slants in the key of C, and we're going to take these forward and use them in a tune to kind of solidify this concept of using bar slants. It's a really old school technique on the Dobro, so it'll sound like old country music, especially like Roy Acuff, because Bashful brother Oswald utilized these techniques a lot, and it's great to add to your playing in many different ways. Anchoring ourselves on the 5th fret over a C major chord, we're going to do what's called a 1 fret forward slant. So sometimes you're going to need to grab notes that are on 2 different strings, but a fret apart. So how will we do that? We can't really just, if we're keeping our bar perpendicular to the strings all the time, we can't do that. So if we go 1 fret up from the 5th position, there's a note there that we want to grab on the 2nd string. Okay, the next note we want to grab is 1 fret up on the 1st string. So how do we do that? We're going to need to slant the bar forwards. These can be really hard to get in tune. So what I'm doing with my left hand to kind of move from a straight bar into a slant, a forward slant, is I'm sort of rotating the bar by kind of pushing my thumb into my hand, loosening up my fingers a little bit and kind of guiding with my index finger on top. Some other people will like move their entire wrist and kind of keep their hand position a little more locked in. Everyone's a little bit different, but I kind of like to push the bar with my thumb. So the goal is to get those notes as in tune as possible. It can be quite tricky. One way to practice that is to make sure we know where those notes are and what they sound like to be in tune. Try that note at first on the 1st string, 7th fret. Okay, now let's try and do a slant, but just play that 1st string. Don't worry about the 2nd string for now. So we're moving into the position while still trying to just hit that pitch as close as we can. Try that with the 2nd string now. So we're just going to do the same thing, but just hit that 2nd string. Now hopefully with some practice of that, we can move into a slant position and be pretty close to those notes. So you can practice that anywhere you find a straight bar major chord. You know, if you wanted to do the same slant in the key of G, maybe you'd be up at the 12th fret. And you just slant the bar and move it 1 fret up. If I'm in D, perhaps I'd be over the 7th fret. So practice those a lot and try and get them in tune and just get used to doing that movement with your left hand in the bar. Once you've got that going, you can start to do some scales on the first 2 strings. For C major, our root note is on the 1st fret, 2nd string. I've got another note on the 2nd fret, 1st string. So we slant the bar. That one's really hard. The closer you get to the nut, the trickier this is. You can hear I'm quite out of tune there, I'm sorry. So we start there, we go up to the 3rd fret, then to the 5th fret with a straight bar. Now we do a 1 fret slant. Slide that 2 frets up. Okay, then straight bar over the 10th fret. straight bar on the 12th, and we're back to our root. Can sound like garbage sometimes when I do it, I'm sorry. But that's the idea, is to work through that position, those positions. And that pattern is super useful, the pattern of where those 1 fret slants are in the scale, right? If you're working on different scales, if you're in the key of D or the key of G, that pattern would be consistent. So at first, just try and get these in tune as much as possible. Practice that a lot. You can also add some vibrato a bit later on. And that's just moving the bar gently back and forth once you've gotten into that position. It's an expressive way of playing, and it also gives us a little more wiggle room with our pitches there. You don't want to be too aggressive with it. That's kind of a little bit too much. So subtlety is a bit better, but it's using some vibrato can help smooth out some of these notes as well and cover up some of our trickier intonation problems. Okay, there are also some forward slants using our 1st string and 3rd string. Some of these will be 1 fret slants, others will be 2 frets. So again, the process is the same. Let's find the 2 notes that we're going to use. For our C major root position, let's go up to the 9th fret 3rd string. Okay, and then let's go to the 10th fret 1st string. Okay, that's our C note there. So again, we slant the bar and we're grabbing 1st string and 3rd string, 1 fret apart. The technique with the left hand pretty much stays the same. Your angles might change a little bit. So again, it's good to test. Maybe put on a drone track or some other kind of reference note for you to check your pitches with. It's good to just practice sliding into those. Once you think you've got that slant down, let's do the same thing of playing the C major scale, dyads of the C major scale, starting down by the nut. Now the root's up here, so we're not going to start on the root down here, but it's part of the scale. We're going to use an open string at 1st and the 2nd fret. Okay, then we're going to move into a slant on 3 and 2. 1 fret slant. Slide that 2 frets up. Great. Now I'm going to slide up 2 frets again, but now we're going to do a 2 fret slant. So let's review that. That's going to be a note on the 3rd string, 5th fret, and the 1st string, 7th fret. That's pretty tricky. So the angle of your bar is going to have to increase in order to grab those 2, because they're 2 frets apart rather than just 1 fret apart. Good way to practice that is maybe let's go to the 5th fret, just a straight bar, and then slant and slide into the 5th and 7th frets. And you could slide back to the 5th fret there. Let's start from back by the nut again. So open 3rd string and 2nd fret 1st string. Now we move into a 1 fret slant. Here's a 2-fret slant. And then back to a 1-fret slant. And that's back to our root. We can keep going up the scale. We move into a 2-fret slant. Back to a 1-fret slant. And then 2-fret slant. We can keep going. If we dare. It gets trickier and trickier. Yeah, excuse my intonation there. Great, so that's showing you, again, just getting you to practice those slants and both 1 fret and now 2 frets apart, and also giving you the pattern for where those occur on that 1st and 3rd strings. So by practicing that pattern, you should be able to find those slants a bit easier on your fretboard, especially if you tie them back to where the root position is. Now let's talk about reverse slants. What the heck are those? Okay, it's just the opposite of a forward slant. So while we were going this way with our bar before, now we're going this way. So it's kind of like kicking the back end of the bar out. The left-hand technique for that, I'm over my 5th fret. You kind of have to loosen your grip on the bar. You take your thumb off, plant it on the back of the bar, and rotate it out while keeping my index finger on top. So my middle finger is kind of is not really coming into play much here. It really becomes almost contact with just my index and my thumb. As I kind of slide it and rotate it out from under my hand. It's a pretty tricky maneuver. And then you can, with your thumb, to get back to a straight bar, you can pull it back in and get your middle finger back onto the bar as well. So our first reverse slant out of C, we're going to have a note just 1 fret up on the 2nd string. We're going to use our strings 2 and 4 here. So that's going to be the 6th fret, 2nd string, and then the 7th fret, 4th string. And the same process of practice can apply. So just focusing on the 2nd string. I want to practice doing my left hand reverse slant, trying to get the best pitch out of just that 1 string. Let's try that for the 4th string. Together. Pretty tricky. You might also hear some other noise coming out of your other strings. It can be a bit difficult to mute those. I use my palm a little bit to try to kill some of the sound from the other strings as you're sliding your bar along. Also, of course, your fingers behind the bar are still laying down on the strings and muting things. So again, we can play the C major scale in dyads using these slants. Okay, starting down by the nut, we've got a 1st fret 2nd string and a 2nd fret 4th string. I'm gonna grab those with a reverse slant. It's gonna be tricky down by the nut here. Then we're straighten our bar over the 3rd fret. Move into a reverse slant. Keep that shape. Straighten the bar. Reverse slant. Back to our root. And then we can go straight bar, reverse slant. Keep going if you dare. Geez. So I find those reverse slants to be really useful for getting some really cool phrases. And in combination, you can start moving around this fretboard.